What's up, everybody? Thank y'all for joining me with Buzzing with Marlo live, live, live. I say it again, live. I hope everybody's doing well. Um, Literally, this recording right now, Christmas has just been over. I mean, wow, what a awesome Christmas. I hope everyone had a great holiday. I sure as heck had one. Um, I got to have it with my family. I couldn't ask for anything better. But I hope everybody's doing well. Before I forget, everybody, if you haven't checked out our YouTube page, like, subscribe, check them out, man. We are building up. These videos are coming up more and more, and I love seeing the views that are jumping up every week. It is amazing. I'm still getting very new to YouTube, but I think I'm doing pretty well, man. I got to give a shout out to our YouTube channel right now. We're almost at the verge of almost 47 subscribers right now, so that's a big deal. Obviously, Spotify and stuff like that, we're way bigger, but I'm just now upgrading to the YouTube stage. So other than that, we're doing very well with that. Also, guys, if you're not checking out this nice, wonderful white hoodie, I know Christmas is over, but guess what, guys? Get your merch, man. The link is gonna be below. Check it out on Bonfire. And I'm also doing a nice little pre X Christmas thing, like Christmas is over, but you know what? I'm still gonna do the promo code Buzz20. You'll get 10% off of all your purchases. That's right, guys. Buzz20 is the promo code, and it will get you some money half off for your awesome hoodies. We also got T-shirt, Razorbacks. I mean, list goes on and on. And I'm also on the verge of hopefully getting a shot glass made. So fingers crossed. We're gonna see what we can do with that, but one thing I just want to say, I'm very appreciative of this podcast in general. The outlets that we've had, the guests that we've had this year has just been remarkable. And I mean, I'm just so excited. Every single record, excited to see what my guests bring out of me. I mean, sometimes I just get the introduction of when they message me and when we link up and we start deciding what we want to do. And then when we get into the episode, it's just amazing what we learn for every recording. But guys, today I'm not going to disappoint y'all at all. Again, today, guys, I'm gonna join with my friend Ono Northey. Ono Northey, guy, literally is 8 hours ahead of us. So actually, it is 11 o'clock. I'm at 10 o'clock our time right now, and it is pretty early over there, even though it's the next day. So 8 hours ahead of us, man. I mean, it's awesome to everybody get this chat on. So, guys, I'm not waste any more time. So, when the countdown goes from 30 to 1, I will be joined with Ono Northey. And guess what, guys? And that it starts in now. All right, I'm joined with Ono Northey. How you doing, man?
Fantastic, Warren. How about you?
I'm doing well, man. It's quiet. I mean, can't go wrong. I mean, I'm usually with my daughter like 4 days out of the week. So literally during the week, I'm with my daughter all the time. So nighttime, I very appreciate it.
Yeah,
My 3-year-old will have me up running.
Yes, I get up a lot. I get up pretty early for the same reason. It's quiet and you get some creative work done.
Man.
So yeah.
Oh boy, it's so appreciative. And it's just like sometimes when it's this quiet, and you're just like, it's too good to be true. Unreal Tyson there. So you're just like a little kid's like, all right, now I'm energetic. It's nighttime, but you know what? I'm good to go. Let's go.
Nice.
So no, where are you actually currently held at right now?
Qualicum Beach is a small town in Canada.
Okay, in Canada. All right. How's it going on with all the COVID stuff? Is it kind of slowed down now over there?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a pretty small town, so it never really impacted us in a major way. Mostly in like large urban centers and stuff is where I mean, we're 30 feet away from each other already, so
yeah. So are you born and raised in Canada?
Yes, sir. I was born in Nelson. We moved to Vancouver after that, then to Richmond, then to Surrey, and then finally to Qualicum Beach. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Have you seen any like big differences from all the areas that you've been in Canada, or has that one
Oh yeah.
been like your main favorite one?
Oh yeah. When we moved from Surrey to Qualicum Beach, some of my friends asked me, they said, like, is it any different? I said, yeah. Well, like when you wake up and like 2 a.m. and you hear all those bang 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 bang, and you're like, oh, is that gunfire or is it fireworks? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, it's basically the same thing, only here it's like, oh, is that like a swallow or a robin that's chirping in the beautiful meadow? So, I don't know.
Less dangerous, less dangerous. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Qualicum
So,
is beautiful. Everyone here is super nice. And yeah, it's just I don't want to encourage immigration though. So no, it's terrible. It rains all the time.
he's trying to keep it secluded, guys. He's
That's
trying
right.
to keep
That's
it
right. It's
secluded.
good to just wait it.
Just stay in your lane.
Well, my dad always used to say whenever anybody asked him about Canada, he always say it rains all the time. Just don't come here.
Oh, I know about rain. I live in Florida, and
Oh yeah,
it
yeah.
rains. It rains a good portion of the year.
So
It might be.
if you're from Florida and you visit
Mhm.
Vancouver or Qualicum Beach or anything like that, you'll notice that it smells like flowers here. And so
Really?
that's really cool because I didn't know that until I went to Florida and then I came back. And when I came back, I was like, wow, the air here smells like flowers. So you get used to it and you don't notice. But
You got
yeah,
that fresh scent back,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, it's different. Yeah.
So how many times have you been to Florida?
Just once for my honeymoon. It was actually pretty
Mhm.
cool. My wife, she said, "Where do you want to go for your like for our honeymoon?" And I'm like, "You're gonna think this is lame, but like, I want to go to Disney World." And she's like, "That's where I want to go." I'm like, "Good, married you for the right reasons." Yeah, so we actually went to Disney World, and then we went on like a Caribbean cruise after that, and stuff like that. So it was beautiful. Yeah, and
That's
man,
a way to celebrate. That's a
yeah,
way to
man, it was
celebrate.
great. And the food was so different in Florida. It was like we went to buy like a salad and it was like really expensive, but then we wanted to get like an all you can eat buffet and it was like $3. It was a very different thing. It was like, oh, okay. So like, so we would go to the all you can eat buffet and like it wasn't even an all you can eat. They just gave you a lot of food, and, and then we got this food and we would eat it throughout the entire day. Like it was like one meal would last us the entire day.
Hey,
Yeah,
there you go, meal portion.
yeah. Well, and I eat a lot. Like in Canadian portions, I eat the family size. Like whatever whatever they give, like that's what I was eating because I was a martial
Hmm.
arts instructor at the time, so I was on 5,000 calories a day just to maintain my size. I
Yeah.
was exercising all the time, and I went there and I'm like, yeah, I'll get the large calzone, right? It took me 3 days to eat. It was the size of a sheep, It was like, all right. So yeah, Florida's built different.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I will eat this, but it will take me a while. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Uno, tell us a little bit about yourself. We know you live in Canada and stuff, but let us know who you are.
All right. Well, I am currently an author and an investor. I used to be a martial arts instructor. I am a father of one. He's 7 years old. My purpose is to try to put a seminar's worth of entertainment into a fictional, enjoyable story,
Hmm.
so whether that be a book or hopefully in the future it'll be we want to turn it into an animated series as well. So that's the
Okay.
penultimate goal. But right now it's just the book. So yeah, that's me.
Fingers crossed, it might be a Disney possibility. You never know. You know.
No, probably not Disney. No, it's a little too graphic and violent for that. So although having said that, Disney doesn't really have that brand anymore. I mean, now they're doing Marvel movies and stuff, but so who knows? Who knows in the future? Yeah.
I was ecstatic when I heard they said they were gonna let all things go with Endgame, because I was like, I mean, if Disney plays with that too much, I'm just like, it's not gonna look real to us.
What
And
a
the way
what a
they did it, I was
masterpiece.
like, I was like, yes,
That
yes.
I think Endgame might actually be my favorite movie. And it sounds like, oh really, your favorite movie is a comic book movie? But like I'm looking at it, I'm like, I love that movie. Like when spoiler alert
The
anybody, but
10-year journey, the
like
10-year
yeah, right?
journey.
And like to not disappoint, like I love the first Matrix movie, but the third Matrix movie was like, really? That's the best you could do, and like, but I mean, to build to something up for 10 years and not to disappoint. I mean, when again, spoiler alert, but like, when he picks up that hammer, like, I still get chills.
Hmm. They
I've seen
still
that
talk
scene
about
like
it.
how many times? I still get chills, right? It's amazing. It's a masterpiece of yeah, performance, writing. Everything was beautiful. So yeah, I love that movie.
It's crazy to see how they're gonna continue, but man, with that Spider-Man coming up, I'm pretty excited to see how that's gonna go. I
Well,
mean, I'm a fanboy for sure when it comes to these Marvel films.
I think one of their main benefits is the casting. I mean, like the
Hmm.
guy they cast for Spider-Man is amazing. Like he's like I teared up
The
watching
best
him.
Spider-Man,
Yeah,
the best
yeah.
Spider-Man right now.
He's like Ultimate Spider-Man, I would say. Like from the comics, I would say
Hmm.
Ultimate Spider-Man. Like, but like I literally teared up just watching him just be Spider-Man. I'm like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, they
Yeah.
have an unfair advantage with Nick Fury because he's actually modeled after Samuel L. Jackson. So really, it's like you got Samuel L. Jackson to play Samuel L. Jackson, so that's whatever. But yeah, I
It
mean
fit
the
his part.
casting is
It fit
yeah,
his part though. I gotta admit that definitely was pretty interesting how they did his character. He didn't make him look weak, but he made him look tough still in ways. Like the skits that he put Samuel in, like he looked like he was a badass, and
yeah,
it was like really cool. And I was just like, he didn't do much if you really think about it, but it's like he didn't look bad either. So they did perfect for him and stuff. And I mean, a big shout out to them on that Endgame movie, man. I was so excited from start to beginning.
yeah,
When it told me it was 3 hours long, I was like, challenge accepted. I'm ready to go.
yeah.
And the first time ever I watched a movie that long, and I'm literally like, I could watch it again.
It's true.
Like it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like that great to me. And a lot of people are like, well, I didn't really like Endgame. Well, you might have some questions about your life. I don't know what to tell you.
I'd have to ask you why. Like, what? Why didn't you like it? Yeah, that's one of those movies that I mean, in my social circle, it's just universally liked. So I was like, wow, really? But some people don't like it, I'm sure. But you know what I said afterwards? I said it's okay. Like, like if the rest of them end, like if all the rest of the Marvel movies are like, eh, I'm okay with that.
Hmm.
I'm okay. Like I've got,
That was the
you know,
ending point. I really
yeah.
thought
Yeah, I've got a
when
complete
they
meal. If you start a new Marvel universe after this with new people and everything else, like cool, I'll go see your movies, right? Like I haven't seen the Eternals or the Angelina
I
Jolie
haven't
one,
seen it yet
right?
either.
I'm like, it might suck. I don't care. I got my end game. I'm happy. If
That's
there's
all we
another
need.
run after that, that's just greedy. Like, okay, that's fine. I'll take it. But yeah, yeah,
We'll take it. If the rest of them suck, Endgame was good. That's all we needed.
exactly.
Tony Stark. That's all we needed.
Yeah, yeah. There's some edits going on online where people put in the what is that ACDC's Iron Man song
Hmm.
instead of what they played for when he snaps,
Hmm.
and like ooh, it gives you
Yeah.
chills. It's well done. Yeah, yeah,
It was. I'm so. Oh my gosh, I get so excited talking about it sometimes, man. It's just. It blows my mind because people actually told me that like real Marvel fans were like, it was okay. I'm like, what the freak you mean okay? Like
wow.
3 hours of the movie, did you just sit there and go 3 hours of the movie? I'm just sitting there like, hey, I don't need no popcorn or nothing. I'm good to go.
I mean, like I got a wall of comics that's I don't know, like 5 feet by 5 feet cube. So I don't know, and I think I consider myself a pretty decent comic nerd, and I liked it. I thought it was great. Uh,
Absolutely.
I mean, I am typically more of a DC guy. Unfortunately, the movies are terrible, but the but like as far as comics go, so maybe I missed something, but I really
Hmm.
liked it. I thought it was great.
I'm looking forward to Black Adam, so I'm curious how that one's gonna be. I mean, I'm a
Yeah, it
big
could be
Rock
cool.
fan, so
Yeah, it could be cool.
really, I'm very I'm lenient when it comes to his products and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like it, whatever. There was a couple of them I didn't care for, but Black Adam, the best part for him. I mean, The Rock looks like a damn superhero, so finally
Yeah,
he gets to be a bad guy. So we'll see
yeah.
how that goes.
It's
But
it's a crying shame that they didn't cast Jason Momoa as Lobo because he
Mm-hmm.
literally looks exactly like Lobo. Like he looks nothing like Aquaman. Aquaman's supposed to be a dweeb, the guy who played Chris Evans. He would make a great Aquaman. Like he's all clean cut, and I wear an orange shirt. Like that. That's that's his deal, right? He would
I
have made.
literally wondered what they were doing with the Aquaman thing. I
I
was
mean,
like, man, y'all did this to make women happy because there ain't no way in heck this was
yeah,
based off of what we wanted.
yeah. I think it is impressive how bad DC has done of a job of making their movies, considering the talent that they have brought to the table and the IP that they have. I mean, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, these are fantastic characters, godlike figures. The stories are all written already. You could literally just copy a
Hmm.
comic book story, and their animated shows are fantastic. Like if you look at all the DC animated stuff, they're great. But for some reason, they just, I mean,
They
they
can't
can't
fit.
do
They
it.
can't figure it out.
You know, somebody told me that there's like a Snyder cut of the Justice League and it's better than the other one. And I told them, I said, I
It
can't
is.
do it. I can't do it. It's like going back to an abusive spouse or something. I can't do it. Like I've cut ties. Once you do a reboot, maybe. But right now with this whole thing that you're doing, like, no, I'm out. I'm out. I can't do it anymore. You can't hurt me
I
anymore.
will vouch for it. It was actually really good, but it was super damn long. And I mean, it felt like a whole day I thought I was spending watching this movie for a second. Because I was just sitting there, I was like, how long is this movie? Like,
Yeah.
I get it. You made it look good, but what are we doing with this? I was just like, 3 hours? Oh my lord.
I mean,
But it
they
was
split
good.
they split the Marvel movies into two when they needed to, right? So like, I mean,
Hmm.
take a page out of that book,
I was
right?
like,
Well,
you wouldn't have needed to do that if you got it right the first time. Like, literally, I was happy about Ben Affleck being Batman because, in my opinion, he fit that role to me. Like in a cartoon, nice bachelor look. Ben Affleck was that guy. I honestly did not believe Christian Bale was that character from the beginning. I didn't like the alternating voice, which
hmm.
that trademarked him, but I like Ben Affleck as the Batman because he fit the role that I grew up watching in the cartoons and stuff. I
The fight
mean, when I
scene
was a
where he
kid,
comes out
obviously
of
George
the
Clooney decided he wanted to play Batman. That was yeah,
Hey, Batman, chew. My favorite part about that one is the sock puppet, where they just like ran out of CGI budget. Like, the sock puppet. What? The inflatable
oh
crane.
man,
Yeah, yeah.
that was
The,
yeah,
the
that
fight
was
scene,
interesting.
the fight scene in Batman v Superman, where he comes up out of the floor and he fights all the people, and he like
Hmm.
blows up all their guns and fights them all. I thought that was very like Arkham City, like the way that he was
Yeah,
moving through them and everything else. I thought it was a great scene. Um, I wasn't a big fan of how many people he murdered, but I like but I thought that the choreography was very good.
hmm
Yeah, and I'm not sure
yeah.
how he managed to throw the giant thing, but
We'll leave it at that. That's exactly what it don't even need to be brought out what that thing was. It was
yeah.
just it was like when I watched it in the theater, I was like, why?
Yeah.
Like I'm like 12. Actually, I was like maybe 13 or 14 when that Batman came out. I'm like, this is stupid. Like 14 years old. I'm looking at him like, this is retarded. I
Yeah.
thought I thought it was gonna be good with Arnold Schwarzenegger playing a bad guy. I mean, at that time, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the guy,
True
like
enough.
muscle
Yeah.
guy, that role perfect. Uma Thurman played good as Poison Ivy, in my opinion. Chris O'Donnell played great as Robin. I'm a fan of Alicia Silverstone, but I don't think she needed to play Cat or Batgirl, whatever they were doing with her. And then George Clooney, that was just like, all right, we wanted to just please women for this one. There ain't no way George Clooney was supposed to be playing Batman.
I think it's always hard when you have like Bruce Wayne and you have Batman, right? And I,
ER must have been a real good hit for him to get that
I
role.
always thought it would be a good idea to have a live action Bruce Wayne, but a
Hmm.
CGI Batman. I think that would be a really good,
Yes.
and then you could get like Kevin Conroy or something to do the voice for Batman. But then,
Hmm.
and you could have like whoever, like it doesn't matter, just some random handsome guy could be Bruce Wayne, who can act, right? And then he becomes Batman, and he's moving through the shadows and stuff like a CGI creature instead of
Hmm.
a guy in a rubber suit, right? I just think that would be, it would really do justice to the Batman role, I think.
With you describing that, is that kind of like in a role like you got for your animated series or something like that?
That's a cool idea. I hadn't thought of that. I think it'll probably be fully animated because I want it to run for 15 years. And I think if you
Mm-hmm.
use live action people, actors age. And so that would just
Yeah.
be problematic. You get a guy
Mm-hmm.
who's in his 70s or something playing a role, and then you go for 15 years, it gets statistically more likely that you're going to lose that
Yeah.
actor. And so, whereas voice actors, you can like if Mark Hamill doesn't do the voice for the Joker, it's a crying shame. But there's people who can kind of do the voice, and so like life would carry on. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's why I think it has to be animated. And the reason I want it to be a 15-year running series is because I want to change the cultural zeitgeist with my series, and that takes approximately 10 to 15 years to do. So
Yeah, it takes a while.
yeah,
I'm amazed like how I'm shocked to see how all that process is to like make an animated series and to keep that longevity go. I mean, I was a big superhero fan, so obviously all the superhero shows, it just seemed like those were the ones that kept growing and keep going. And then obviously the real version, which everybody knew they were fake, but the Power Rangers were so more updated every year. Like they had something new every time. So those were like the only things that I ever really saw that longevity wise was those two scenarios, like the Marvel and DC characters, and then the Power Rangers. That in my as a kid, that's all I saw is the things that kept going. And then of course we're wrestling. And those were like really the only things I was really intrigued watching because they had such a length to them. Some of them was just like you see a cartoon and it would go maybe 2 seasons. It's just like, yeah, Beetleborgs ain't going to beat Power Rangers, so we're throwing that off the script.
yeah. I think the nice thing about animation is that it gets dated much slower than live action does. I
Mm-hmm.
find, like you can look at, say, a cartoon from early '90s, right? Like say
Yeah.
Batman the animated series, right? Early '90s. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of when that came out. It's still good today. But if you look at like a live action TV show or even a movie that's that old, you can spot all the bad CGI. The editing isn't as sharp, and there's just something about live action that seems to degrade over time. Whereas
Right.
animation seems to have that longevity, that staying power a little bit more. I think, as long as the animation is good to start with.
Yeah.
Like Ghost in the Shell.
I've seen some bad ones. I've seen some bad ones that get that
Absolutely.
stint.
But you look at like an animation like Ghost in the Shell, right? Like it is an art piece. It's beautiful, right? And that movie will be beautiful 20 years from now. But the
Mm-hmm.
live action Ghost in the Shell will not be, because everybody will go, oh, look at that effect. Oh, that's cheesy. Oh, that's not, oh, that's not realistic and stuff like that. Because I mean, I love the second Matrix. I thought it was great. I know a lot of people don't like it, but whatever. It had everything that I
The
wanted.
to be continued part pissed me off. Like
Yeah, I
that
mean that
part, like
that is a
two
little like,
hours in, and
yeah.
it's just like, no, 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 you did.
But here's the thing. It's like it had like what, like a 40-minute car chase scene or something. I mean, it was like
Yeah,
it was at least 20 minutes. It was crazy, right? It was
that
crazy.
was intense.
And it had like the Smith fight, and it had like he's flying and he's saving people, and everything. It had everything that I wanted it to have. I thought the first movie, Matrix, is the Matrix movie. That's it. That's all you need. You just need that first movie. The second
Mm-hmm.
movie is like, so what's all the cool stuff you can do? And they just did all that cool stuff. And then in the third
Mm-hmm.
one, they tried to explain it, the whole movie. And
Yeah.
yeah, it really fell short in my opinion. But I really liked the second one. I thought it was great. But
What do you
if
think about the newer one?
I don't know, I refuse to watch any trailers. So I will see it. I will go in hopeful and optimistic. Because I love the Matrix as a
So you haven't
concept.
seen any trailers for it yet?
Zero. I
Oh
know.
man,
I
I'm a
know
big
that.
trailer guy, man. I will live on YouTube just sitting here watching trailers for a moment.
Well, all my YouTube is all I've trained the algorithm, so it's all stock stuff. So I don't get any movie trailers or anything like that. Whenever I look at anything that is not stock related, I use incognito mode so that it doesn't wreck my algorithm. So it never
Oh,
recommends
okay.
anything that's other than stock. So that
I need to do that when my child has my YouTube then.
yeah, Yeah. Well, it's great because YouTube is a fantastic university if you train it to be, or it is a great way
Mhm.
to waste 7 hours if you train it to be, right? So there's all kinds
Mhm.
of stuff in there that I'm sure I could watch, whose line is it anyway, marathons or something like that. And I would be totally happy doing that. But I've trained the algorithm so that it does what I want it to do, which is basically be a university for free. Um, and there's a great app called Video Speed Controller that lets you listen to insane speeds. So I can actually listen at 4x now, like while I'm learning and actually with comprehension. So
Oh, wow.
it's a fantastic tool. I highly recommend it for anybody who wants to like speed learn, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely consider that. I like that. That's pretty cool. Um, you were mentioning something about martial artists and stuff like that. Like, how long did you do that for, and what made you actually want to go from martial artist to being an author, and then now doing more with the animated series and stuff that you're doing now?
So I think there's only two purposes in life. There's increase the awesome and decrease the suck. And mine has always been increase the awesome side of things. So when I was a martial arts instructor, I was very addicted to that moment of transition in somebody's eyes when they go from knowing that they can't do something to realizing that they just did it. I
Hmm.
I love that. I could live off of that like Superman with the sun. I could just I could just live off of just witnessing that emotion all the time. It is my favorite thing to facilitate. Um, and when the martial arts school shut down, I was lost at first, and
Hmm.
because I thought that my purpose was to be, super sensei, to be like a coach or something like that. That was what I felt that I was on this planet to do. And I talked to one of my martial arts instructors, and I was just sharing with him this, I wouldn't quite call it a depression yet, but at the time I was very, very sad. And he said, "Well, what's the things that you love to do about martial arts?" And I explained, all the things I just said about, facilitating growth and all that stuff. He goes, "Well, you don't need a martial arts school to do that." And I was like, "You're right. Like I don't. I could do this with anything. I could be a public speaker. I could be, an author, right?" And so I started thinking about like things that scale, right? Because a martial arts
Hmm.
school is a fantastic thing, but it doesn't really scale. Not really. There's some online schools and stuff like that, but it doesn't really do what a live action martial
A
arts class
purpose,
does.
yeah, yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, how could I do that? So I thought maybe I could be an author. Um, and so I kind of wrote up this idea where it started when I was a kid. Well, actually, no. First, I'll start at the martial arts school. So, at the martial arts school, one of the things that my students would ask, mostly teenager students, is they would say like, "How did you get so awesome?" That was the thing that they asked, and I'm like, that is like a really hard, like just like I don't know, practice, eat your vegetables, right? Like it was hard to come up with an actual answer. So I wrote like a really short book, and I called it "The Key to Awesome," and I sold it to all the students, and they all read it, and like years later, like some of them like a decade later, they still email me saying like this book
Oh,
changed
wow.
my life. I as a result, I'm like running my own business now, and or like my relationships are strong or whatever. Like it's just like it really really impacted a lot of people, and I was dumb. I was like 24 or something when I wrote it. Like I didn't know anything, but like it was still better than what they knew, right? Because they were only 14,
Hmm.
right? So I was like, wow, like what? So I thought, okay, you know what? This book is great. Like I'm going to share it with the world, right? And I tried to sell it, and nobody bought it. And I was like, okay, so like that's unfortunate, but oh well, I tried, and it didn't work. And then I remembered a very specific moment where my mom, when I graduated high school, she gave me a book, a self
Hmm.
development book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I uh, I didn't read it. I put it on my bookshelf, and it just gathered dust. And that's it. And then when I was about 24, 25, something like that, I actually saw that book in like a used bookstore or something. I'm like, oh, hey, I've never read this book. And I bought it. And then I went home to put it on my very well alphabetized, but not very well dusted bookshelf. And it was like, oh, I already own this book. And I took the book out, and it had this beautiful inscription in it, like, I hope this will change your life, and all these beautiful things that, like, from my mom, right? Now, what was the problem with that? Well, was it my mom's fault that she gave me a self-development book? No, right? Was it the book's fault? Is it a terrible book? No, it's, bestseller, right? So what was the actual problem? The problem was I was a teenager and I didn't want to read a self-development book. That was the problem, right? So that's kind of like when the light turned on in my head, and I'm like, right. When the age of imprinting is when you are in high school. That's when you develop the majority of your beliefs, your worldviews, everything, right? So
Mhm.
if you could somehow get self-development into that age bracket, you would really change the world. Like, it would be a phenomenal difference, because it is so much easier to make a really cool person than it is to fix a broken adult. It's so
Yeah.
much easier. Like, to just teach a teenager or a kid or something like that. Like, when I was in the martial arts school, it was so easy because they're just like, they wanted to learn, right? So you just teach them,
Mhm.
like, you want to kick high, read this book. And they'd be like, okay. And they would read it and they would change their life, right? But like, adults, on the other hand, you have to fix them because they have all these preconceived, insecurities and
Mhm.
emotions and all these things that, and so I'm like, how could I do that? And I'm like, could I make a book series and ultimately a TV show? But could I make a book series that was like sex, violence, explosions, car chases, self-development? Could I do that? Could I make it like so that it was something that everything that I want as a teenager, right? Does it have boobs in it? Does it have explosions in it? I'm in, right? Right? Could I make it? Could I make something like that for teenagers that would also teach them like an entire seminar's worth of mindset, and make it in a fun way? So it wasn't boring. It was fun, right? It was
Mhm.
like imagine if you watched Star Wars, right? And afterwards, you could actually use the Force, right? Like, that would be pretty amazing, right? That would be
Mhm.
really, really amazing if you're like, I watched this movie and now I can use the Force. So I made like the magic system kind of self-development based, so that, I don't know about you, but when I watched Star Wars, I tried to move stuff with my mind, right? I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could do that, right? Like, I think most people try to do that. So I'm like, if you make the magic system something that's actually usable, actually something that would actually work in the real world, would people try it out? So
Mhm.
it was just a thesis. I'm like, I don't know, maybe, right? So I wrote this book. Anyway, a couple years later, I actually got, and I'm going to frame it at some point, but I have not framed it yet. But I actually got an anonymous note sent to my website. Starts off with "Yo, dog," which is my favorite part. Right? It's like, "Yo, dog, that shit you wrote, it's called C3 Gus in the book, but like, that shit you wrote, the C3 Gus, bullshit. That actually works. Like, I don't know if you know this, but like, I tried that shit on my mom, and like, that shit works." And I was like, yes, I know. Right? Like, I know it works, but like, they uh they thought the way that they phrased it was like it was an accident. Like, I know you
Mhm.
just made all this stuff up and it's not actually supposed to work, but just so you know, it actually does. That was kind of the way they phrased it, right? And I love that. That is literally the juice for me now. It's like that stealth mindset where it kind of gets in before we get all calcified and dogmatic and everything else. So yeah, that's a long answer, but that was the mission. Yeah.
Hey, at least you found the purpose. I mean, that's I love how you said with about karate school and stuff like that. Because when I used to do professional wrestling, that is one thing you had to look at doing was finding a wrestling training school, and then obviously work yourself up. If you graduate from the training school, then you could just start going and wrestle other shows and stuff, and be able to grow yourself up, try to be on WWE or something like that. Like everybody wants to be. Everybody wants to be in WWE. Everybody, well, not anymore now that there's another product out there, but everybody wanted to go to the big dance, obviously. That's what they wanted to do. So I love how you said, you know what? I don't have to do this. I could do this, be an author, and also do this. Like you have so many different creativity things, and that's kind of like how I saw with doing this podcast. It's like, you know what? I'm not completely done. Like, I mean, when I wrestled and stuff, I felt like I didn't have much left. I was like, hold up. I wasn't even in my 30s when I retired from wrestling. There's no way I'm sitting here like dead, tired, and I can't do anything else. And I kept seeing these podcasts and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I can do this. Like I saw Stone Cold do one. I'm like, he's probably the one that most un weirdest personalities you could possibly see. And if he could do a podcast, I got this. So I've been doing it now for almost 2 years now. So it's crazy to see how much this has progressed and stuff. And I love how like how you said about writing a book and stuff. Like you just were young and you're just like, hey, I'm gonna write this book, and it actually changed people's lives. That's how people. I'm amazed every time people sit here and say, "Hey, man, I liked your podcast this week." I'm like, "You sat down and listened to this? Like, you wanted to hear me talk through your Bluetooth speakers?"
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty cool that like you got to have that creativity, that creative mind to build something that big and something like that. And obviously, you got a lot more in the making and stuff. So how's that been going so far? Like with everything processing and all that.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. It's been such a wild ride. I've learned just incalculable amounts, just like of how to craft the story properly.
Mm-hmm.
My first draft, I had my wife read it as like my first reader, and she got to I think chapter 1 or 2, and then she wrote back borderline illegible. So thankfully, it's come a long way since then. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey. It only was going to be one book because I just
Mm-hmm.
had this really sort of cheesy, uh, generic story. Wasn't really like very well thought out and everything. It was sort of like actually the main character whose name is Steve Jang was a girl named Ezra. Like it was a completely different story, but like just kind of trying to write and just seeing if I could write a book. And I'd
Mm-hmm.
written some self-development type books, but I'd never written any fiction other than just like some stuff when I was a kid with my parents and stuff. We wrote some books, but it was by the time I figured out, like, I kind of I wrote the third book, I figured out how to write, and so I went
Mm-hmm.
back and I edited book 1 and 2, and actually made them something that now I'm very very proud of. But like it was a process, and when a lot of like junior writers, they'll ask me questions about like how do I get started and everything else, and I always say the same thing. I'm like, just write a shitty book, like that's it. Just give yourself
Just do
permission.
it.
Yeah, just give yourself
Just
permission to
do it.
write a terrible book, and after that you have two options, right? You can throw it away or you can edit it into something good, but finish your
Mm-hmm.
book because you don't learn from writing 70% of a book. You have to finish the book and then throw it out and start a new one. You got to
Mm-hmm.
finish the book because there's a process of finishing a book that is important, and get really good beta readers and people who aren't afraid to hurt your feelings.
Be open minded.
Yeah, right. And actually listen to the feedback as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that critiquing that can go many ways. Like I I mean, me coming from a military family household and stuff like that, critiquing was not a problem with me. Like literally my dad would sit here and make jokes about, hey, you dumbass, like how you doing this and you always doing this wrong or something like that. And I would just laugh. Like literally from him having those perspectives, I mean, yeah, it might not sound that great, but it helped me with the critique and stuff. And I was just like, okay, that's not, if that's what the best you got, cool. Like, I'll try to see something else, but that's not gonna make me cry or go hide in a corner and pout for a week or so. Like,
Yeah.
critiquing does do a wonders, and that's one thing
What
I
does
would.
what does Jocko Willing call it? Total responsibility, total accountability, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the military way, right? Is like you give total accountability, total. I wish I could remember what it was. I think it's total accountability or something like that. Absolute responsibility, something. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Whose fault is it? It's my fault, right? And it's like fix this, give me all the feedback I need so that I can learn and grow, right? Carol Dweck, growth mindset. Like it's, if you don't have that, then all you really are is somebody who has their set talents, and that's it. Like, oh, I'm really good at this one thing, and that's it. I'm going to stay inside that zone, right?
Mhm.
But as soon as you embrace that ability that you are a human and you are an average human, which means you can learn, right? That's like,
Yeah.
we suck at everything when we're born, everything, right? You know, you can't lift your own head, right? If you are left alone for like 10 minutes at
I
a
love
time,
this metaphor.
you can't do anything, right? And now you can do something, which means you had the ability to learn, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that if people had to learn to talk right now, like let's just say nobody knew how to talk, and everybody all of a sudden it was like, oh, by the way, you can talk, and everybody just started learning right now in their adulthood, like 99% of people would give up. It's way too hard,
Mhm.
way too hard. Like you got to learn to move this piece of meat and spit and air, and you got to figure this whole thing out, and you got to make sounds, and then you got to figure out which sounds each little thing. Like people would give up.
Mhm.
There's no way, right? Most people wouldn't even walk, right?
That's the sad part about this world, man. It's like literally people don't know what hard work is nowadays. Like
Yeah, well,
I
they know what hard work is, but they don't think they can do it. I
yeah,
think that
they
I think
already
that,
in that mindset is just like, oh, like I give it a good example. Like if you see somebody on TV or in a movie role and they busted their tail to be shirtless in that movie role and they look at him and go, oh wow, how many times did you do steroids for this role? Like,
yeah.
man,
Or I could do
you
that
can't
too
just
if
give
I had a
somebody
professional, right? I could do that
huh?
too if I had a professional trainer. It's like,
Yeah. It goes so many ways, man. With me, I used to have a personal training background and stuff like that, man. I've heard it all. Like, oh my gosh, I want to get in shape. Okay, how many days do you think you're gonna be here? Well,
I could probably make it once a
I
week.
might go next week.
Yeah, yeah. I want to look like Chris Evans. Can I do that like 30 minutes
Oh
every couple
my
of weeks?
gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my Lord, I have numerous stories about that one. I mean, gosh, I remember what was the flavor of that month? Oh, it was Jacob from Twilight. Can
Oh
I
yeah,
look like him? I was like, first of all, you might need to go in the sun if you want to look like that. Secondly, you're gonna have to cut out the burgers and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And I was like, well, you're
yeah.
not gonna look like that.
Now, movie magic aside, I mean, they don't drink water for like a day and a half
Nah.
beforehand, so they're all shredded and everything. So I mean,
Hmm.
I
They're
can give
drinking
them a
soda
pass.
and stuff like that. They're drinking straight sodium stuff. Like
Yeah,
I've when I was wrestling, I think the lowest body fat I had was almost 5%. It was sickening for me. And I mean, I looked great on camera. I
yeah,
took pride in it, but I was like, I'll absolutely never do that again. Like
yeah.
that was just
Did you get like lightheaded and stuff?
um not necessarily really lightheaded because I built myself up like really where I was able to hold it out and like just go through it with the whatnot. But it just got to the point where it's just like, man, like I'm just sitting, I'm like, if I just touch this bread, I don't think it's gonna go well. Like it's just those type of things. And it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
My 5% gonna go up to 8 after this. But no, it was just like I was constantly running, lifting at the same time, which I was doing more cardio and lifting at the same. And now I've just kind of like more leverage with mobility and stuff like that. I wasn't really worried about stretching and all that. I was just cardio and lifting. So I had a nice little size shoulders and stuff like that. And then my legs were pretty big just from running. And I took pride in those things. I was like, yeah.
yeah,
Good. You know, there was most people was like, hey, guys that have a nice upper body don't have the best lower body. I'm like, yeah, I got both.
yeah. Well,
But yeah,
and the
man, that
beauty
five
about it is it
percent.
takes a lot of sacrifice, right? It takes a lot of hard work and
Oh
a lot
my
of sacrifice
gosh,
to get that way.
you have to stay strict on your meals. I remember I had to cut down calories for that one time. Because what I would do, I would book shows based off of how I'm gonna eat. And
Mm,
so say like if I needed to be in a heavyweight type match, I was gonna bulk up to get prepared for it and stuff like that.
mm,
So if I so say like I had a big headline show for say in almost a month, okay, that I'm gonna go and put myself in getting that cycle to get ready for it. And then, all right, you're gonna go and try to fight this cruiserweight guy, and I'm like, oh, that's when I did that 5%. I was like, ugh, I don't know about this one again. And they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna put the belt on you. No, you don't want the belt. No, I gotta stay like this. No.
Now, would they actually make you like go down in weight? Because like it's not like the
I want it more
UFC or something.
believable because some of the guys that I wrestled,
Yeah,
they didn't look like
yeah,
that character, so I wanted them to at least look presentable towards me and stuff. So say
yeah.
like
But
if
I
I
mean,
was the challenger or whatever,
Like Rey Mysterio fights the Undertaker. I mean, it's it's fine, right? Like you can you know
it, you'd be amazed. Like, man, you got a bunch of babies sometimes when you wrestle somebody in the ring. They're like, man, he
yeah
looks like this. Okay, you could do the exact same thing. Like,
yeah
might need to just go to the gym. I mean, not just say, hey, I want to be a wrestler and not go to the gym. Like, there's people like that, and they would get so mad at me when I would take the shirt off and stuff, and I was just like, man, that's not even fair. I'm like, how? I'm doing the same stuff you're doing, except I'm going to the gym. I'm literally taking discipline to put myself to this par to get there. And I mean, and it used to drive me nuts because I was just like, man, people just don't realize it just takes a little bit of hard work. You do the hard work, you're gonna get what you put effort in. That's what I've always been believed. You will get whatever effort you bring in. If you putting in a piss poor attitude and a, a mediocre effort in the gym, you're gonna get mediocre results. I mean, it's just those type of mindsets that people just don't realize. Hey, man, just start doing something. Don't just sit there and sit around at the house, and then you just be like, oh man, I don't like this dad bod. So what are you gonna do about it?
yeah.
Oh man, I'm not stopping drinking. I'm not gonna stop that. I'm like, you can still do that if you can just go to the gym. You'll look a little bit better. Like, my gosh.
I think people it's easier for most people to assume that you are exceptional rather than admit their own mediocre output of effort or whatever it is. And
And they
so
gotta put down anyone to make them feel better.
yeah,
Gosh.
or they'll say like, well, it must be nice to have your metabolism, or oh, it must be nice to
Oh, I hear that.
have the 4 hours it takes to exercise, or oh, it must be nice to blah blah blah. Right? They make it sound like you are this genetic freak, or you are supernaturally smart, or whatever. Right? And you go, yeah, no, I get up 3 hours earlier than you do, and I exercise 3 hours more than you do, and I
Hmm.
eat better than you do, and I do that for a decade, and like that is the result, right? And but people go like, oh yeah, but obesity runs in my family, and you're like, right, okay. Is that because everyone in your family eats the same way? Like there's lots of people who
People
obesity
don't
runs
think
in their
that,
family.
man.
You know,
And I'll
uh,
say this, like literally me going to the gym and stuff like that helps me with being around my daughter. Like my daughter is constantly moving, constantly active. And I tell people all the time, you don't have to be six pack or whatever when going to the gym, man. This just helps you in just if you just go on the treadmill once in a while, just go for a walk or something. Because when you have a kid, man, you gotta stay on your feet all the time.
yeah.
So literally you want to at least take care of yourself so where you can be like, you know what? Nice try, Annabelle. You're not getting me today. Like, I got you. I can follow you. We got the distance today, but people don't see that, man. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
We are what we habitually do. That's
Hey,
it.
I think that's the best saying for that
Yeah.
one. I like
We
that
are.
one.
We are. Well, it's not mine. I forget who it is, but it's a pretty famous quote. But yeah, we are what we habitually do. That's it.
You got it today. You
Yeah, it's
signed
me.
on to it today.
I'm a
It's
champ.
yours. It's
Yeah.
yours now. Buzzing with Marlo exclusive right here. That is
There
your
you go.
saying.
There you go. Yeah, I'll
But I
take it.
don't know. What is the? I mean, obviously this episode is about to start having this be ending, sadly. But what are some of the futures that holds for you and stuff? And like, what are some of the things that we can look forward to with your novels, your animated series that you got in the works? What are some things that you are really really excited about?
the the first trilogy is out. Buy now, Amazon.com. The first trilogy is out, and I'm very, very proud of it. The second trilogy will be out in approximately 2 years,
Okay.
and the animated series will not be out for a long time, like a decade. It will not be out for a long time because I want to get most of the books written before the animated series starts getting made. I don't want to pull a Game of Thrones and have a situation where the author doesn't keep up with the TV show.
Oh my lord.
I never saw the show, but apparently the season finale was not the best. So,
Oh, I
uh,
heard all about that show nonstop, but the ending,
yeah,
oh my gosh, you talk about some angry rioters. Oh my lord. I was
yeah,
just like, I thought y'all liked this show.
yeah,
Hell no, this thing sucked. Blah blah blah. I'm like, that's the first time I ever heard somebody be that incited about a show and
yeah.
mad about
Well,
an ending.
getting back to the end game, right? I mean, they had like I don't think it was quite 10 years, but it was a long time. The show was on for quite a while, and maybe 8 years or something like that. And I think that they were invested in both the characters and in the story. And my understanding is that in the last season, the characters acted in ways that were outside of their character. Smart people made dumb
Hmm.
decisions. Nice people did mean things. Mean people did ethical things. And a lot of the things that were promised. In writing they call it an open bracket, right? Where it's like something where
Hmm.
a storyline starts, it should end at some point, right? And a lot of them just sort of went like, don't worry about it. Winter never came or whatever. I don't know. I haven't seen the book or read the book, but apparently, winter is coming. It's a big deal. So yeah, I think that people were really upset. Very few TV shows end well. Like you look at
Really? I
like
thought it was a different. I thought it was a different perspective. I thought it ends a lot better.
Breaking Bad ended fantastic. Um,
Hmm.
uh, I would say that the TV show Friends actually ended quite well. Seinfeld was all right. It was okay. Um, but yeah, like, I think a lot of shows, they're not really designed to end.
Hmm.
Like I never saw Lost, but apparently they were just like, and it was all a dream. Like they just like, and they had all these, because people read into these mysteries that you write. And for me, I'm really looking forward to once COVID's over and like Comic Con's back up and everything else, because I live for like nerd questions about my book. Because I'll be like, in paragraph 7, you mentioned this, but that doesn't apply to the ratio, and I'm going to be like, yes, it does, motherfucker. And I take out my spreadsheet and I'm like, I've got it all figured out right here.
Got the glasses and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Right here. You can just barely see it. I usually have a green screen behind me, but you can just barely see the
See the
uh,
Batman logo.
yeah, the Batman logo is up there, but that's all brainstorming for the next series. So no spoilers, don't look.
Oh
but
no.
but yeah, like I have, like, my editor laughs because I'll ask him a question and he'll be like, "Who cares?" Like, it doesn't, like, that will never actually be in the book. And I'll be like, I care because I need to know how this thing works, because at some point somebody is going to ask. They're going to say, like,
Hmm.
well, wait a minute, like, how did this aspect of the magic work when this aspect didn't? And I'm going to be like, well, let me pull out my spreadsheet and I shall show you. So yeah, that's always been really important to me. My dad is a professional artist, and he would put little he makes robots, and he would put a little driver inside the robot, and then he would seal it up,
Okay.
so nobody could ever see it. Like, you'd have to break it apart just to find the driver. Like nobody would ever see. It's welded shut, right? Like, it doesn't open.
Hmm.
But he put it in there because, like, and I like stuff like that, like, where it's like, I'm making an art piece that is complete. And at no point will somebody point something out and be like, well, hold on a second. Like, did that happen? And I'll be like, yes, it did. And here's why. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe, like the how it should have ended, or the everything wrong with YouTube channels. I'm sure they'll find something and they'll pick it apart. But,
Oh Lord.
you know,
Oh Lordy.
I've done my best.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, that's it, right? That's it. You just try your best.
So you said about your first trilogy, it's out on Amazon and stuff like that. Check it out on Amazon.
Yes,
Um, how many episodes was in that trilogy?
sir. How many books are in the trilogy?
Oh yeah, how many books are in there? Yeah.
Three. So there's three books in the trilogy,
Okay.
and yeah, they get progressively longer. That wasn't
Okay.
intentional. I just did it by accident. Where it's just like the first book, uh, it's I don't remember how many pages, but like basically it's like 200 pages is added to each one. So there's 200 extra pages in the second book, and then there's 400 extra pages in the third book. So they're getting progressively bigger. Um, I told my editor that it's for people who have uneven coffee tables that they have an option. They can get the small, the medium, or the large. So yeah, but yeah. So I don't know about book four. I don't know if it'll be even longer or not. Uh, book four has nested storylines. So the can I don't think I can tell you much without spoiling something. Basically, a story happens within a story within a story within a story that is all relevant at the same time. So the second trilogy is very complicated to write. It'll be easy to read, but it's very, very complicated to write. It's kind of like writing four books at the same time. So
Really? Oh my
yeah, it's
gosh.
a tremendous undertaking, and mentally it was very difficult. Usually it takes me about 3 months to start a book before I kind of get the locomotion starts going, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, I get it now. And then it's really fun. The first 3 months are usually pretty hard, but with this one, it was closer to like 7 months or something like that, where it's just
Oh.
like I still don't know what I'm doing. It's so complicated, and so many things are happening all at the same time, and like how to tell the story, because there's in wrestling, you don't just do the move, right? It's about
Mm-hmm.
how the move is presented. It's where do you look? How do you present yourself to the audience? Where are the cameras? When in the storyline do you pop out and attack the guy? When, you don't just go like, hey, I got a chair. Like you have to sell it. You have to be the role. You have to
You
be the role.
you
And
show it. You show the way to
yeah,
show the expression.
it's
I
the,
love how you brought that out. I wish you could. I'd zoom in on what you're saying right there because a lot of people need to know what that philosophy of
yeah,
wrestling is.
yeah.
But that
If
is
you,
perfect perspective on that because you literally have to explain
yes,
what's going around, what's going on. And like how you said, that took 7 months for you to do that story. I can only imagine like
yeah,
what all you had to really, what your mindset had to be like, okay,
yeah,
this is what's happening. This is what can go on. This is what we can go with on this one. Make it go longer, whatever. But it's hard to write those type of books in ways because it puts you in a roller coaster. Like you just like how you just said, it just slowly keeps you going the
yeah,
first 3 months and stuff. So it's like you're just all over the place. You're just literally zigzag. You don't know if which one's going straight down or whatever. So I that I give you major props on that because that is got to be a tough task.
yeah. I have a philosophy that I think of it like a movie, and I say the camera is always on whoever is most interesting. And so
Hmm.
I know exactly what happens, but I don't know through whose eyes
How?
I see
Yeah.
that happening, right? And so it's always like, okay, how can I get the reader to know this without like spoiling something that's going to happen in the
Hmm.
future? And because I actually made up a word for it. I call it plot developmental. So if somebody says something plot developmentally, that would be like, as you know, your parents were brutally murdered when you were a child. And it's like, you would never say that. Like, no one would ever just be like, by the way, Warren, remember that time when we were 7 and you and I, it's like, no, you wouldn't, why are you saying that right before we go out into the woods? Like, it makes no sense, right? But like, people do it all the time in books and movies, especially in TV shows, because TV shows are so episodic that they have to constantly
Hmm.
remind the viewers of everything that happened in case they missed the last show. It drives me
Um,
nuts. I
that
hate
blast from the
it.
past crap gets annoying.
Yeah,
Like when they
yeah,
do like that one particular episode where they just like they take the first episode and
Yeah,
just kind of like change a little bit of the roles or whatever. And it's
the
just
clip
like,
show.
why? Like, why? And then all of a sudden, oh, it's just a dream. Like, come on, man. I don't want to see this. Like,
Yeah,
you just ruined my week for this one episode.
and books are, understandably notorious for this because a lot of the time people have to wait like a year or something before they read the next one, and so they don't remember what happened. And so
Hmm.
a clumsy author will basically do the equivalent of like previously on X-Men, and they'll just like do this like, 10-minute like data dump of here's all the things that happen. It's like there's a more eloquent way to do that. And,
Hmm.
and and the same thing when you're telling somebody a story, you want it to be experiential, not narrative. Not like, Warren was really sad because he was on his way to. No, don't tell me he's sad. Show me he's acting in a sad way, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, my philosophy is the camera is always on who's the most interesting, and at the same time, the story has to progress organically so that even if the character knows something, the reader doesn't know it yet. And the only way to do that
Hmm.
is to
You
show the
have to
scene
read
from
it. Yeah.
somebody else's perspective so that they don't know either. And so then, and you can skip over information that way. And it's a very delicate balancing act to like there's one there's one chapter that takes place from like a greeter, sorry, the sample girl at like a Walmart or something, and like she's
Hmm.
not a character in the book, but the entire chapter happens from her perspective because she's watching these two characters interact, and it was just like she's the most interesting person in this scene because her reactions to them is more interesting than either one of their reactions would be to each other,
Hmm.
right? And so that's more the art form. Like the story part is also an art unto itself, but like deciding who tells the story, I think, is an art form unto itself, and that's something that I'm extra proud of, especially in I think that's book 3. I think I don't remember. One of the books is look for chapter
Hey.
Gertrude. I don't remember if it's in book 2 or 3. I think it's 2.
Trending chapter Gertrude.
That's right. Hashtag Gertrude. I don't know how to make a G.
Hey man, that's awesome. So, um, that's really cool, man. I'm looking forward to it. I definitely want to check out the first trilogy of those books, man. Obviously, guys, if you're not hearing it, check it out on Amazon. Also, man, oh no, go ahead and put your plugs in, man, so these people know where to get these books, where to follow you to find out what your upcoming projects and everything is, man. I appreciate you doing this. This was absolutely a blast.
Oh, thank you, Warren. I had a blast too. Yeah, you guys can find me on ononorthy.com, ONONORTHEY.com, or you can look me up on Amazon, and it's just the Shard Chronicles, and it's a picture of a dude with his legs getting blown off in a wheelchair, and he's shooting a gun, and there's a bunch of glass flying everywhere. And that's actually I didn't mention that the main character. It's an action book, but the main character doesn't have his legs, so he has to get pretty creative. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I
And
like it.
I mean, you can try to find me on things like Instagram and Twitter and stuff. I don't really, I'm not worth following, but you can do that. You can sign up for a newsletter on my website, but it'll basically just let you know when the next book comes out. I'm not going to send you recipes for book for things or whatever it is people use their mailing lists for. So yeah, TikTok isn't even me; it's my wife pretending to be me. So yeah, you can you can follow me if you want, but mostly just buy the books, and that's the best way to go.
Hey man, I appreciate it, man. Guys, the Amazon link will be on the bottom of the episode, posted below. Um, literally right after this will be published. So guys, check it out. I'm looking forward to it. That's pretty cool, man. An action hero with no legs. I mean, come on. You do the math. You do the math. How many different? And he said he's got a trilogy with it, so obviously there's got to be a very good explanation why he don't have legs and how he gets around and beats that superhero type scenario. So that's pretty cool. So, oh, no, I appreciate you doing this, man. I hope you have a great rest of your night, man.
Thank you, sir. All right.
All right.